Welcome to Eerie Escape, where history and horror are separated by only the thinnest veils. I'm Michaela.
And I'm Michelle. And tonight we follow a trail soaked in blood, darkness, and twisted desires. Ooh. All leading to the name that has haunted everyone for centuries. Dracula.
Ooh. And this isn't just the story of a fictional vampire. This is a descent into terror, into real-life horror that still lingers in the shadows. Tonight, you'll hear tales of torture, ancient curses, and an undying thirst for blood that spans centuries.
So to understand Dracula, we must travel back to the 15th century, all the way to Wallachia, a land stained with blood where a ruler named Vlad III, also known as Vlad the Impaler, held absolute power, and he wielded that power with unthinkable cruelty.
We all know Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, if you
Literally
studied history, then everybody knows it, or just social media in general.
Yeah.
Everybody should know about Vlad the Impaler.
He was freaking terrifying.
He was spooky dooky, let me tell you that.
He was the king of spooky dooky.
Yeah.
And legends say that Vlad didn't just execute his enemies. No, he made them suffer. He would impale them on wooden stakes, leaving forests of withering bodies around his castle. Men, women, children, all left to slowly die. A feast for crows, and a warning to anyone who dared to cross him.
But Vlad's cruelty did not end there. Some say he would dine among the dying, raising a cup of blood-red wine to his lips as the tortured gasped out their last dying breaths. Rumors spread of his undying thirst for blood, whispering that Vlad had become more beast than man.
Man, Vlad is dark, okay?
He was walking around his little castle going, "I want to suck your blood." Like,
also, I remember when we were in school in world history, and obviously they didn't go into depth because they can't really teach that in school.
Right.
In high school, at least.
Yeah.
I remember reading that one of his, like, main enemies was, like, this guy who was known to be, like, ruthless, and you didn't want to cross him either. And when he went to war with him, he marched up, like, into Wallachia and tried to go to Vlad's castle, and that's when he saw all the bodies on stakes for like miles and miles, and he was so disturbed by it that they turned around and left.
Yeah. They packed their
They packed their shit and got the fuck out of town.
They packed their shit and got the hell out of Dodge. They were peace out Girl Scouts, because they were not vibing with it.
People called him Dracula, meaning dragon, or the modern day interpretation, devil. They believed that Vlad had become something monstrous, that his taste for death had transformed into something neither living nor dead. And from those whispers, the seeds of Dracula were planted.
That's terrifying. So let's jump to 1897, when an Irish author named Bram Stoker brings Dracula to life. But Stoker's vampire wasn't just inspired by Vlad's thirst for blood. Stoker wove in dark and ancient folklore. Whispers of the dead returning to feed on the living, of creatures cursed to stalk the night. Imagine being back in that time and reading something like that.
That, and I mean, people obviously earlier in the years in Europe talked about like vampire trials and werewolf trials, but in 1897 that had been like sort of left in the past.
Yeah.
In a way, at least for vampire trials.
Yeah, like the 15th century.
And now you're bringing this back up.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh.
Imagine the fear.
Yeah. Especially because all these towns already have their beliefs about it. I'm pretty sure when Bram Stoker wrote it originally, he said it was a somewhat of a true story. So like back then people were like thinking that it's like a real life account about Vlad.
I mean, hey, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. I understand that people have a wild imaginations. I understand that people can come up with a lot creativity within their own minds, but some things you just can't make up on your own. Unless I'm truly wrong, but I personally don't think that somebody can come up with something that dark in that time.
No. Well, and because it's just like there's so many different, we'll learn later on in the episode too that there's different names, but they all have the same exact belief.
Right.
So you can't, I mean, places have their urban legends or like whatever, but if they all say the same thing, like, this is where they come from, this is what you do to stop them, this is what you do to make sure they don't rise from the dead, like.
Right. I mean,
hello.
Let's be real here. Back in the day, I couldn't pinpoint you a year or century or anything like that, but they used to, when they would bury their dead, they used to make iron bars to go over their gravesite and over their casket so they wouldn't turn into a vampire and come back to life.
And I think in some places in New Orleans, they did that where they placed like the silver bar in their mouths. Yep.
Yeah. Just so they wouldn't come back. And they say that garlic is out the window. Like, garlic isn't supposed to deter them. But
they thought they did.
I mean, hey, and to think about it, that so many people believed in this and so many people still believe in these things. I mean, I believe in vampires. But then again, I believe in mermaids too. So, you know, my opinion is a little iffy anyway. But, you know, just the precautions that people have taken over the centuries to like protect themselves and their families from said vampires is crazy to me.
It's insane. There's so much.
Yeah.
So Stoker spent years researching vampire myths and drawing from the Eastern European stories of the Strigoi, which are spirits that rise from the grave to drain life from the living. So you're energetic vampires. In these stories, the undead couldn't rest because their thirst for blood kept binding them to the earth. So, I mean, a Strigoi is a spirit, essentially. But just think about, like, low-level beings that's literally what they do, is draw energy from you. And then you take that and cross it with a vampire. It's like, oh no, this dead spirit will literally suck the life out of you.
It's basically like a physical form of purgatory.
Yeah,
in a way. Like,
exactly.
you're just stuck and you have to constantly be there, and then your thirst for blood gets so, I mean, it's kind of like a drug addict.
Yeah.
Once they don't get it, it becomes almost impossible to get off of it. So they just need it more and more and more and more.
Or like the Wendigo.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Same exact thing.
Once they do it, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Go see our previous episodes on the Wendigo. And so Stoker created Count Dracula, an immortal abomination who could not be killed by time or blood. He could seduce, control minds, shapeshift, and summon wolves to do his bidding. He became a nightmare so vivid that even today, his name strikes fear into our hearts.
Oh yeah, us. And even the people in like Romania, like where his...
Yeah.
Like, where Braun Castle is.
Yeah, because they still say that there's been sightings of him.
Yeah.
Like everywhere. I mean, it's online and everything, and it's some of it is just uncanny to deny.
Yeah, speaking of seducing and controlling minds, have you seen the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula? Like the movie?
No.
Okay, Sirius Black from Harry Potter plays Dracula. And it's weird. It's like the story of Dracula, but it's kind of like a love story too.
Well, you know, in movies,
Count Dracula can have it.
I mean, they do.
I'm just kidding.
They do. No, you're not.
I'm not, though.
They do like to romanticize a lot of horrifying things.
Twilight.
Like Queen of the Damned.
Yep.
Rest in peace, Aaliyah. And, you know, Twilight, of course. And just other Vampire Diaries. The originals.
Team Damon.
Legacies. Oh, yeah, Team Damon. All the way. Team Damon.
Oh my god, I thought you were about to say you were Team Stefan.
our relationship probably would have
Oh, it
ended
would
right
have
there.
ended right there.
It would have been gone.
Like, I should get that fuck out. No,
Yeah.
just kidding. But here's the truly terrifying part, right? Many believe that Stoker's Dracula wasn't fiction. That he had somehow captured the essence of a real monster. Which is like we talked about.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense. And so, vampire legends didn't begin with Dracula. Stories of blood-drinking creatures are as old as humanity itself. In Romania, villagers feared the Strigoi.
If you go and tour like Bran Castle, they tell you that they really think that like Strigois are out there and that you need to be careful, especially around the castle.
Yeah.
But let's get into some other examples. Like in Germany, for example, they told tales of the Nachzehrer, which is the corpse that could devour your soul. And then in Greece, they feared the Vrikolakas, which is an undead beast that fed on its victims until literally nothing was left but an empty shell.
That's
Nothing.
creepy. That is so terrifying. Speaking of terrifying, the most terrifying common thread was the belief that once a vampire marks you, there's no escape. They will follow you, they will hunt you until your very life has been drained away. So they basically get into your head until you become nothing but just body and blood.
An example of that, okay, like TikTok, you know, the whole vampire thing was like going viral recently. There was a lady on there that was telling a story about how she went to a job interview. She was like looking for a job. She was looking for a job. She was pregnant at the time. And she went to this job interview and it was basically like a funeral home. And she was going to be basically like an assistant. Like she wasn't going to be like a mortician or anything, but
Hard pass.
the guy was like, I really, really like you. And she said that this man who owned the funeral home was like very charming and like just like you were like drawn to him, like you want to talk to him and you want to be near him, whatever. But she said something was off, right? So she waited like a day or so and he calls her and he offers her the job. Well, her mom happened to be a psychic medium. And her mom was like, whatever you do, do not take that job. Something is not right with him. Like, don't take it. And she didn't even tell her mom that she had like interviewed at this job, right? Her mom was just like, if you get an offer, don't take it. So she was like, hell no, I'm not taking it. So she gets a job somewhere else at like this cabinet store, right? He comes to the cabinet store and is like, I need new cabinets. And she's like, okay. So he helps her, or she helps him like order new cabinets or whatever. He comes back a week later and is like, I'm trying to replace cabinets in my house. Like, continues to come back, right? And every single time he's like, you should really come work for me. And wanted to offer her like triple the amount that she was making at the time at this other job. And she was like, no. She eventually found out from somebody else in the town that there were rumors that he was a vampire. Yeah. And she said that it was like 10 years go by, right? She's obviously looks older. She sees him at a different job, a whole nother job. And he's like, are you ready to come work for me now? Looks the exact same. Doesn't change at all. Another 10 years go by. At this point, her daughter's like grown or whatever. They go into the grocery store. He's there. He's at this freaking grocery store. He sees her. He has not aged still. And literally looks at her, realizes she has her daughter. And he doesn't say anything to her, but she said she thought she could hear in her mind that he said, hello again.
That's crazy.
That is so creepy, right? There's like, she goes into like a freaking 5-part series and there's like other details I left out. So you should go look it up. I can't remember her username, but when we edit it, I'll put it in here, but it's insane.
Have you heard about the other TikTok about the girl who was an Uber driver?
On New
and
Year's
she picked
Eve?
up the 3 boys,
Yes.
the 3 guys. So I don't really remember like the whole context of like the whole thing of it, but the small context of it is that this woman, she was an Uber driver or a Lyft driver or whatever, and she picks up these 3 guys on New Year's Eve to take them back to where they needed to go. And they got in the car and she immediately had like the weirdest vibe. Like just the weirdest vibe. Well, time passes. I don't really know why she thought that they were vampires, but she was thinking it in her head. And she was like looking at them looking at the two in the mirror, and then the one beside her, she like glanced over at him, and all of them are staring at her. And she can hear in her mind, one of them goes, "We are what you think we are."
Yeah.
And so she freaks out, and I guess nobody was talking again, and they were like, you can stop here and let us out. And it was only one voice in her head. So she stops, all three of them get out at the same time and leave, and she couldn't see them. That's also on TikTok. I don't know who it was or whatnot, but I think that there's a couple parts to it, or it might just be one big part. But let me tell you, I was watching that at like 3 a.m.
So people had many different ways to ward off vampires. People lined graves with garlic, which doesn't work. Sealed them with holy symbols,
Which might work.
even staked corpses to the ground. But nothing ever seemed to stop them. Once marked, it was only a matter of time it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Period.
So basically, if you fuck around and find out, you're gonna be finding out. But Stoker's Dracula inspired a new era of vampire fascination, but it also kept alive something darker, a fear that this evil was more than just a story. People began to visit Bran Castle in Romania, drawn by rumors of Vlad's spirits still haunting its walls. See, those are the type of people that want to fuck around and find out. And so is she. Me? She can have fun. I'll stay my happy ass at our shitty hotel room and binge watch Netflix.
It's just the castle. It's a historical castle.
I'll be ready to file the missing persons report. I'll stay out of that mix.
Whatever.
I'm a spooky dookie. Y'all already know this. If y'all have seen my earlier videos, I don't do it. I don't do it. No thank you. No thank you. No
She
thanks.
she went on one ghost tour with me in Salem.
And I was a badass for that. Yeah.
She wouldn't go on a different one.
No. Absolutely not. If something touches me, because I've had shit touch me before that isn't there, and speak to me that isn't there. So I've already been found it out. If I can control it, I don't want to find out again. So
Fair enough. Some who enter the castle claim that they feel an icy breath on their necks, hear whispers from empty rooms, or see a shadowy figure lurking in dark corners. Locals believe that Vlad's spirit is restless, bound to the land by the countless souls he tormented in life. But also, you gotta think, how many people he tortured and killed there? Bran Castle is huge. I mean, there's like secret passageways from like the first floor to the third floor. Like, they got a torture room. Obviously, look who we're dealing with here.
yeah.
And even I've heard of, obviously people say that there's demonic presences there.
And a stockpile of steaks, because what's, staking people up than having a whole bunch of sharp wooden trees to do it with. I don't know if they still have them there. Probably not. They probably have like something that resembles it just for show.
Yeah.
But still.
Because I think Vlad was there for a time, but he wasn't the last person in the castle, I don't think.
Yeah. No. And that castle, it's probably owned by somebody or something, or XYZ.
It's like a museum now.
Yeah. And Dracula himself, he's woven into our nightmares. The character endlessly revived in books, films, and our darkest imaginings. Each retelling feeds the legend, and each generation feels the same chill. A fear that Dracula isn't just a creation, but something waiting and watching. Ugh. No. That sound that's like, no. But yeah.
What is that theory called? It's like when you talk about it or believe in it enough, it will actually manifest itself. That's like a real thing.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't know the word for it.
I don't remember the term.
Hold please for a brief intermission.
All right.
So we're back.
We're back.
We had to look it up. She found it, not me, because I'm illiterate.
It's a theory that comes from Tibetan folklore. Essentially, it's a creature called a tulpa. And basically, it's the thought that collective focus and energy people put into a legend can essentially breathe life into it, blurring the line between myth and reality. So
it's like pouring fuel on a fire.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally manifesting it, and it becomes real.
Turning into this whole thing.
Yeah. You know, now that I think about it, I might have seen that on Supernatural.
You know.
But it's a real thing.
If I said what I was about to say, I'm pretty sure half of you that are listening would hate me. I've never really watched Supernatural. I know.
This bitch.
I'm a spooky dooky podcaster and I don't even watch Supernatural. What kind of stinking human being am I? Trash. Garbage rot. That's me.
And so our journey through the shadows of Dracula comes to a close. But maybe, just maybe, the darkness hasn't ended. Perhaps it's only just begun.
Dun dun dun. Only because Dracula isn't just a tale. It's a warning. A reminder that some things cannot die, that evil can live through centuries. Always lurking and always waiting.
And here's the question. Was Vlad truly a monster in his own right? Or did something darker possess him? An ancient evil that could never be contained.
If only Ed and Lorraine Warren were alive back then, they could have figured it out. But, you know, of course that was centuries and centuries and centuries ago. So it's not like you can really be like, hey, what happened? What's up? Did you get a little possessed? Like, just a little bit? So, who knows? But Dracula's story is more than just history. It's a shadow that slips through generations, through the pages and screens, and through the darkest corners of our minds. And tonight, it slipped into your mind too. And ours.
So when you're alone tonight, when the shadows seem a little darker, and you hear the creak of footsteps behind you, maybe it's nothing. But maybe it's Dracula, finally invited in.
So watch your back. And thank you for tuning in to tonight's episode. It is finally Halloween. We're actually filming this on Halloween. Unfortunately, it won't be released until after Halloween, but just know that we're here with y'all in spirit as far as spookiness of October 31st. I will make sure that I am in bed before the witching hour because I do not want to deal with that. The spookiness. But make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment. And if you have any suggestions on any other new videos, let us know. And what did you think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you not? We hope you liked it because we really liked going into the history and the deep depths of Dracula. So, sleep well. And as always, sweet nightmares.